What's up guys, Trevor Hunter here with Dirt Bike Test. We're out at Cahuilla Creek MX on the 2024 KTM XCWs, and right here I have the 300 XCW, and all I can say is wow, this bike is really good. I was kind of blown away at how much I like this bike and just how well it performed in stock condition. Just set sag, jump on the bike and go, and this bike is phenomenal. I was never the biggest TPI hater like kind of a lot of people on the internet seem to do. I could realize its potential and kind of see its strong suits and how it performed well in certain areas, and the kind of that smooth power made it super easy to ride, super functional and very effective, although it did lack some excitement, which for me, being like a young and dumb off-road racer, I kind of like that exciting power at times. But in a trail ride setting, I did really appreciate that TPI motor for how smooth it is, and kind of this TBI with a throttle body injected motor brings to the table is it almost brings the best of both worlds with that smoothness and torquiness of the TPI, but that a little bit more excitement, kind of like an old carbureted bike brought. And yeah, like I said, kind of the best of both worlds. Its power delivery is unbelievable. Just not super snappy, but just very smooth and pipey enough that it kind of gets the juices flowing, gets the adrenaline pumping a little bit more. If you get into a kind of a tricky situation, kind of pop the clutch and have enough power to just snap the bike, get the front wheel up and get out of there. With the TPI, it was so smooth, it's almost hard to kind of get yourself out of situations like that. Whereas this bike has just enough to where it's easy to ride, very effective in the power delivery, hard to break traction, but you have that excitement and kind of that jerkiness at times when you need it that can get you out of trouble. Overall, this motor is just phenomenal. Definitely doesn't rev quite as much as like maybe a 300 SX or XC would. It's more of that bottom to mid power delivery, but if you do need to rev it a little bit, it kind of falls on its face, but it gets the job done. But it's definitely more of a lugger. That second, third gear through the tight single track, it just lugs and goes, and super torquey and just fun. Honestly, it's so fun. You can be pretty lazy on it, almost like a 4-stroke, and you have enough power. But kind of that 2-stroke feeling and kind of 2-stroke excitement kind of just gets the job done and does it really well. This bike has kind of that 2-map switch. I don't think it comes stock on this bike, but a lot of the XCWs you can purchase it from your KTM dealer, and for like 140, 150 bucks, something like that, and mount it yourself. Just plug right in, mount it to the handlebar, and you're good to go. Personally, I preferred the green map, which is the more aggressive map, as KTM would say. The standard map, it limits the power valve to only opening about 80%, whereas the green map, the more aggressive map, it opens the full 100%. And me being more of a racer, kind of liking that aggressive power, especially on top, I really enjoyed that green map. The bottom to mid really wasn't affected a whole lot, but it was mainly the kind of that top end is where I noticed the biggest difference, and I really liked that green map, the more aggressive map where the power valve was fully opened. Move on to suspension. The suspension worked really well as well. This new exact coil spring closed cartridge fork. It's like almost basically a race fork. Comes on the KTM XCs now. Some might say it's a step up from the Explore components that came on the previous XCWs, and I can say I am a fan of these. I wasn't a huge air fork guy. This kind of conditions, I actually tolerate it and kind of liked it in some areas, but I never really rode Explore forks. I can't speak on that. But the closed cartridge spring forks working really well. Kind of that supple feeling. I like the extra weight on the front end that the spring forks bring, and it's a little more front end traction, a little slower steering, and just a little more supple in that small chop and small bumps. And yeah, overall I really like the new spring fork. The shock out back as well worked really well. I'd say overall they're a little soft for kind of my liking, but I'm more of a race bike guy, not a trail bike guy. So I think it's just stiff enough to where you can kind of go from a race bike to this bike and not feel it's too soft. But I think the trail bike guys will appreciate kind of maybe a little bit stiffer setting. It makes the bike a little more nimble and agile, kind of easy to maneuver and not feel so sluggish and dead feeling in a way. But overall, suspension worked really well. This PDS system as well, first time for me. I've always had linkages on all my bikes, but the PDS works really well, especially in the smaller chop, screw edges, kind of the fire roads here at Cahuilla Creek. They're all chopped up, hacked out, and the rear end just stayed on the ground and hooked up and kind of driving forward through all of that. So that was super impressive, and definitely has me thinking about the XCWs and the PDS bikes. I would say overall, like I said, I'm really blown away with how good this bike is. KTM did a really good job. I think for a brand new first model year, there's a lot of positives to take away. This motor's exciting, but still very rideable and usable, and just the power delivery is just unbelievable. For a trail bike, enduro bike, it's really, really good. I think a lot of people will be happy with this bike with zero. I don't see any modifications needed. Take this thing out and go have a lot of fun out in the mountains or the desert or wherever you want to ride, even a motocross track. You can get away with this thing, and has all the qualities that you need to have a good performing bike under you. And I think it's a well-versed bike that I hope we get to spend a lot more time on in this near future. So until then, stay tuned to dirtbiketest.com for more. We'll hopefully be doing some more on these KTMs, as well as a lot of other 2023, 2024 models, product testing, all the good stuff like that. And until then, we'll see you out on the trail.
If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully, we'll see you out in the trail.